Aarushi Sharma and Daniel Miller SR, two names that once symbolized a perfect union between two cultures, now forever linked by betrayal, obsession, and blood. What began as a grand Indian wedding ended in a shocking double murder and the disappearance of a bride who may have faked her own death. Was it love, manipulation, or revenge? This is the untold story of how a forbidden affair between a bride and her American father-in-law turned a dream celebration into one of the most haunting mysteries of modern true crime. Aarushi Sharma's life had always followed a predictable path: school, work, and family expectations. Born and raised in Mumbai, she worked as a graphic designer, quiet and ambitious, with dreams of finding love that would take her beyond the city's noise. Her parents, proud but traditional, wanted her to marry soon. After years of introductions and disappointments, they decided to create her profile on an international matrimonial website. That's where she met Daniel Miller Jr., a 32-year-old American software engineer living in Boston. Daniel's profile painted the perfect picture: educated, polite, and family-oriented. His late mother had been Indian, something that immediately comforted Aarushi's parents. The family seemed respectable, and Daniel himself appeared gentle and mature. Their first video call lasted 3 hours, and by the end of it, Aarushi's mother believed her daughter had finally found the right man. Within weeks, their online meetings turned into something deeper. Daniel sent her flowers, learned Hindi phrases, and promised to bring her to the United States for a new beginning. When Daniel came to India with his father to formalize the engagement, everything seemed too good to be true. Daniel SR, a retired college professor in his 60s, carried a calm, commanding presence. His hair was silver, his accent soothing, and his manners refined. Everyone liked him instantly. Aarushi's parents admired how involved he was in the preparations. He often praised Indian customs, joined family dinners, and spoke about how proud he was that his son had chosen such a graceful woman. Aarushi noticed his quiet intelligence and his ability to make everyone feel heard. He often looked at her with fatherly warmth, and she found comfort in his company, unaware of where that bond would eventually lead. As the wedding drew closer, the families decided on a lavish celebration in Jaipur, the Pink City. The media caught wind of the story: the cross-cultural wedding between a charming Indian bride and her American groom. Articles called it a symbol of modern love. Friends and relatives posted cheerful updates online, showing the couple in bright traditional clothes, surrounded by marigolds and music. To everyone watching, it looked like a dream coming true. But within those same days of laughter and rituals, an invisible thread began to form between Aarushi and Daniel SR. The father-in-law spent hours helping her finalize guest lists and decorations. He joined her during photo shoots, guided her through ceremonial traditions, and sometimes shared old memories about his late wife. Aarushi listened with empathy. Their bond was built on emotional honesty, but somewhere between shared stories and stolen glances, it shifted into something more dangerous. Those who attended the pre-wedding events later recalled how often Aarushi was seen standing beside Daniel SR. Rather than her groom, it became a subtle topic of gossip among relatives, though no one dared to voice it. In family photographs, Daniel Jr. smiled for the camera, unaware that the two people standing behind him were already carrying a secret that would ruin them all. The wedding date was set, the music chosen, and the stage decorated: a perfect beginning, destined to end in tragedy. In the weeks before the wedding, the connection between Aarushi and Daniel SR grew quietly, like a shadow beneath the sunlight of celebration. What began as polite conversation soon turned into an emotional refuge for both of them. Aarushi often found herself restless at night, overwhelmed by the pressure of moving abroad, adjusting to a new culture, and marrying a man she barely knew beyond their screens. During those moments, it was Daniel SR who appeared most understanding. He would message her to check if she had eaten, ask about her stress, and remind her to take care of herself. His words carried comfort she didn't realize she had been craving. For Daniel SR, the bond was equally consuming. Since losing his wife years ago, he had lived a life of routine and silence. His son's wedding trip to India was meant to be a pleasant distraction, but meeting Aarushi changed that. He admired her grace, her laughter, and her curiosity about everything American. He convinced himself that his feelings were paternal, a harmless fondness for his soon-to-be daughter-in-law. But each time she smiled at him, the line between affection and desire blurred further. During the planning of the wedding, they spent long afternoons together. Sometimes Daniel Jr. was busy finalizing travel papers or meeting vendors, leaving his father to assist Aarushi. They discussed flower arrangements, the order of rituals, and the menu. The more time they shared, the deeper their conversations went. Aarushi spoke about her childhood in Mumbai, her father's strictness, her longing for freedom. Daniel Sr. shared stories of his late wife, her love for Indian music, and the loneliness that followed her death. Their pain and longing intertwined in silence. Hotel staff later recalled seeing Aarushi often visit the suite reserved for the Millers. At first, it seemed innocent, a bride coordinating with her future in-laws. But as days passed, whispers began among the staff. Some noticed how the door to Daniel Sr.'s room would remain locked for hours. Others claimed to have seen her leaving late at night, her eyes downcast, her expression tense. The boundary of propriety had already been crossed, though neither could bring themselves to stop. The guilt weighed heavily on Aarushi. She knew what she was doing was wrong, but the thrill of secrecy and emotional intensity clouded her judgment. With every secret meeting, her heart pounded with both fear and desire. Daniel Sr., too, struggled with shame. He avoided his son's gaze, made excuses to leave early, and buried his feelings in half-finished letters he never sent. Yet, whenever he saw Aarushi walking toward him, dressed in vibrant colors and glowing with youth, he could not resist. By the time the wedding day arrived, their connection had become an unspoken truth. Aarushi's gestures toward Daniel Sr. grew subtly intimate, a lingering glance, a light touch, a private smile. To outsiders it might have seemed like simple affection, but to them it was a confession. Neither realized that every shared look, every small secret, was building toward an inevitable disaster. Their affair was a storm waiting to break, hidden beneath the sound of wedding drums. The wedding day arrived with the brilliance and chaos of an Indian celebration. The palace venue in Jaipur shimmered under golden lights, its courtyards filled with laughter, music, and the scent of roses and sandalwood. Guests from both India and the United States gathered, dressed in colorful silks and suits, each eager to witness the union of two cultures. Aarushi looked radiant in her crimson bridal attire, her hands adorned with intricate henna, her smile practiced yet trembling beneath the weight of her secret. Daniel Jr., dressed in an ivory sherwani, seemed blissfully unaware of the tension that lingered like invisible smoke between his bride and his father. Throughout the day, everything appeared perfect. Photographers captured every ritual, the exchange of garlands, the sacred vows, the blessings. Daniel Sr. watched from the front row, his expression unreadable. For him, the day was torture disguised as pride. He tried to mask the turmoil inside, the guilt of desiring the woman his son had just married. Every smile she offered to her new husband felt like a knife, yet every glance she threw in his direction reignited the secret they shared. As evening descended, the celebrations continued with dinner, dance, and drinks. Guests cheered as the newlyweds took their first dance together, but behind the curtain of festivities, tension brewed. Aarushi noticed how Daniel Sr. avoided her eyes, retreating into silence. Her heart pounded as she remembered the last time they had spoken, a brief encounter the night before, when he had told her it was time to end whatever existed between them. She had agreed in words but not in feeling. Now, watching him from across the hall, she sensed the distance growing unbearable. After midnight, as the music faded and guests retired to their rooms, the mansion grew quiet. Aarushi and Daniel Jr. were escorted to their decorated suite for the wedding night. Candles flickered beside the bed, and petals were scattered across white sheets. But Aarushi's thoughts wandered to another room, the one where Daniel Sr. stayed. Restless, she excused herself under the pretext of changing her jewelry. Moments later, she found herself walking down the dim corridor toward the father's suite. What happened next would remain forever unclear. Hours later, hotel security reported hearing a loud crash from the upper floor, followed by muffled shouting. At around the same time, several guests noticed lights flickering in the hallway. When silence returned, it was eerie and heavy. By dawn, 2 bodies would be discovered, one in the father's room and one near the pool, both lifeless, both connected by the same chain of betrayal. Some believe Daniel Jr. had gone in search of his father that night, perhaps to ask a question or share a moment of gratitude. Instead, he may have walked in on the secret that shattered everything. Others claim it was Aarushi who went first, drawn by guilt or longing, and that Daniel Jr. followed. No one knows the exact order of events, only that within those few hours, the dream wedding turned into a nightmare, and the perfect family portrait dissolved into tragedy. When dawn broke over the Palace Hotel, the morning air was heavy with silence. The guests were still asleep, unaware of the horror that had unfolded only hours earlier. It was one of the housekeepers who discovered the first body, Daniel Miller SR, lying motionless on the carpet of his suite. The room was in chaos. Overturned furniture, shattered glass, and blood smeared across the dresser. The decorative dagger that had been displayed on a nearby wall now lay beside his body, its ornate handle stained dark red. His eyes were open, staring toward the door as if waiting for someone who never came. The police arrived within the hour. While the officers began cordoning off the room, another call came from outside near the pool. A second body had been found, Daniel Miller Jr. His head bore a deep wound, likely from a blunt object. The tiled floor around him was slick with blood, and the water rippled faintly as if disturbed moments earlier. The sight of the 2 men, father and son, dead within a few meters of each other, left everyone speechless. Aarushi, the new bride, was nowhere to be found. The investigation began immediately. Detectives questioned the staff, guests, and family members. Everyone described Aarushi as calm and polite the previous night, though a few had noticed her slipping away from the celebrations near midnight. Hotel surveillance footage confirmed that she had left her suite after the ceremony, wearing her red bridal skirt and a gold shawl. The cameras showed her walking toward the upper floor where the Millers' rooms were located. She was never seen on the footage again. Blood traces were found leading from Daniel S.'s room toward a side exit in the garden. Outside, police discovered a torn piece of red fabric caught in the bushes, matching the material of Aarushi's bridal skirt. Her jewelry box was missing from her room, along with her passport and handbag. Forensic teams concluded that there had been a struggle in the father's room and that Daniel Jr. may have entered during the altercation. Whether he had tried to stop it or joined the fight in anger was impossible to determine. The press arrived quickly, turning the wedding into an international scandal. Headlines screamed of betrayal, obsession, and murder. Photos of Aarushi and Daniel Jr. smiling in wedding garlands now appeared beside crime scene images. News anchors speculated endlessly about motives. Some believed Daniel Jr. discovered the affair and killed his father in a fit of rage before turning on himself. Others claimed Aarushi had struck both men and fled. As days passed, the mystery deepened. No trace of Aarushi was found, no ticket bookings, no credit card activity, no witnesses. Airports were alerted, border authorities notified, but she had vanished completely. Her parents, devastated and humiliated, refused to speak to the media. The Miller family's relatives in the U.S. demanded answers, but none came. All that remained were fragments, 2 bodies, a blood-stained weapon, and a missing bride whose silence haunted both nations. The palace that once echoed with music now stood quiet, its corridors forever tainted by secrets and blood. Weeks after the tragedy, the story had spread across continents. News channels in both India and the United States covered every rumor, every whisper of the missing bride. Aarushi Sharma, once a symbol of modern love and cultural harmony, had become the centerpiece of a dark mystery. Her photograph, smiling, eyes bright, draped in red, was printed on every newspaper cover. Commentators debated endlessly. Was she the victim or the killer? Some called her a manipulative woman who deceived both men, while others saw her as a frightened bride trapped in a web of passion and control. The investigation turned into a maze of conflicting evidence. The dagger bore Daniel Jr.'s fingerprints, but traces of Aarushi's jewelry were also found in the blood. Witnesses contradicted each other. One security guard swore he saw a man running toward the garden that night. Another claimed it was a woman in bridal clothes. No motive fit cleanly, and without Aarushi's testimony, the truth remained buried under speculation. Months passed with no breakthroughs. Interpol issued a notice for Aarushi, labeling her a person of interest, rather than a suspect, as there was no proof she had killed either man. Her bank accounts in India and the U.S. remained untouched. Then, 6 months later, an unexpected clue surfaced. A gas station clerk in Nevada reported serving an Indian woman and an older man late at night. They bought fuel, snacks, and paid in cash. Surveillance footage confirmed the sighting. The woman resembled Aarushi's same face shape, same mole on her cheek, but it was the man beside her that sent shockwaves through the investigation. He limped heavily on his left leg and wore a wide, brimmed hat, but under the dim light, his profile appeared hauntingly familiar. It looked exactly like Daniel Miller SR. The footage reignited the case. Experts argued over whether the autopsy on Daniel SR could have been mistaken. Conspiracy theories flooded online forums, suggesting the deaths had been staged. Some claimed the bodies were switched. Others speculated that both had faked their deaths to escape together. Forensic authorities defended their findings, insisting the identifications had been correct, but public doubt lingered. A few months later, another report came from a coastal town in Mexico. A neighbor described a quiet Indian woman living with an older American man in a rented house near the beach. They kept to themselves, paid in cash, and avoided questions. When police arrived, the house was empty. The only thing left behind was a gold anklet engraved with the initials A.S. and an American passport under the name Evelyn Moore. After that, the trail went cold. Theories multiplied. Some said Aarushi had been killed and replaced by someone else. Others insisted she and Daniel SR had begun a new life under false identities. To this day, no official conclusion has been reached. The wedding palace in Jaipur remains a popular tourist stop, where guides quietly point to the sealed upper floor and recount the story of the bride who vanished. The tragedy has become legend, a haunting tale of forbidden love and deception that began with celebration and ended in mystery, a reminder that some secrets are too deep to ever be uncovered.